Hello everybody, I'm Devika Dwivedi from Delhi. I worked in a Tata company for 37 years before I decided to retire. I'm here today to retell the story of the journey of my Dadu and
Dadu and
Dida.
Dida are the Bengali representation of Nana and Nani.
My Dida was Mrs. Shabitri Prabhadas.
She was born in Ishwarganj.
She had three other sisters, so there were four of them together. And her mother was a widow, and it was with great difficulty she took care of all her children and their needs, because from financial point of view the only thing they had was land and property, and they were able to manage. When my Dida grew up a little bit, she met a gentleman called Chandra Das. He was my Dadu. They both fell in love and they got married. And Dida subsequently had 5 children. Least among the children were my Boromashi, Srimati Malaya Das, and then came Professor Topon Kanti Das, my elder mama. He's no more right now. He was a professor in Tura College in Meghalaya. And then my mother, Mrs. Alia Das, my Choto Mashi, she was Tanmaya Das. All three sisters were homemakers. And then followed Dr. S.K. Das. S.K. Das is Dr. Shopon Kanti Das. You'll wonder how I know the story. I don't know the story from my Dadu and Dida because they were quite old when I was young enough to know about their struggle. So they were long gone. And my mother never told anything about her childhood, that period, those 12 years rather. She was born in 1940. My mama from Seattle came over last January. Most of the story I have got to know from him. It is difficult. It is very difficult. There are many stories. Some of them are documented. Some of them are not documented. There are many transition stories like this. It was actually an exodus, one of the biggest exodus in history. And I will talk about the individual exodus from Ishwarganj to Alipurduar. My Dadu, he was born in Ishwarganj, and he grew up in Ishwarganj. He didn't have his parents, so he grew up with the support of his elderly relatives and his cousins, who supported him a lot. And they supported him enough for him to do medical studies in Dhaka. Became a doctor. And in 1930, he joined the army. And after 7 years, in order to support the nascent family of 3 children that time, he sought and got an honorable discharge from the army. And then he settled in Ishwarganj with his wife and 3 kids. He subsequently had 2 more kids and started his practice in Ishwarganj. Ishwarganj had mixed people. There were Muslims, there were Hindus, and they all lived and they all coexisted very peacefully. There was no issue. And whatever happened, any medical crisis, because my Dadu was the only medical practitioner in the region, in that town, Ishwarganj. And while there were other practitioners like Ayurveda and homeopathy, he was the only one who was registered, my Dadu. His forte was obstetrics and gynecology, and he had someone to assist him all the time, a midwife kind of a person. My Dadu his practice was doing good while his children were growing up. He had another side to his personality. My Dadu did a lot of pro bono work. He took care of the poor in the city, and he used to charge bare minimum, sometimes just for the medicine, sometimes not for the medicine. And he also had some dear friends who he never charged. One of them was Mr. Mafat Ali. And Mr. Mafat Ali, my Dadu helped deliver quite a number of children of Mr. Mafat Ali. Mafat Ali knew that my Nanaji, my Dadu, will never accept money from him.
So he arranged a Raleigh cycle from London,
which was, absolutely state of art, and it was green color, covered with a chain guard to protect the chain from mud and sludge. And my Dadu was very happy to receive it. He used it everywhere he went. And this was around 1947. There was a partition. Provinces of Punjab went to the West Pakistan, and some provinces of Bengal went into the East Pakistan, and everything changed. India was suddenly divided. And his Muslim friends were skeptical about how my Dadu will stay here after independence. So they used to keep requesting, please don't go, because you are the only registered practitioner and we love you, we care for you. And they actually did value his services. But my Nanaji knew, my Dadu knew that it was not a very wise thing to do, putting the safety of his family in jeopardy by staying there. When the news of this mass killing reached Ishwarganj, it instilled immediate fear and horror among the Hindus for their lives, and Muslim friends feared that grandfather, the only doctor in town, might leave. They pleaded him with not to be deterred by the Bhairav Bazaar incident and to stay at Ishwarganj. They promised to protect him against all violence and even tried to entice him by promising him a CMO position if the provincial government built a hospital in future. My grandfather was completely shaken, and there is no denying that the incident shaped his final decision to flee in near future. The only question remained when. Though communal riots peaked in 1950, they continued unabated. Hindu houses were regularly looted and set afire. In 1952, violence reached the doorstep of Ishwarganj. Everyone woke up one night to a commotion and proclamation of a mob shouting, Allahu Akbar. The children were so afraid that they jumped into the grandparents' bed and clung together. One could see through the window the raging flames engulfing a house and outskirts of town. The whole purpose was to intimidate Hindus, forcing them to flee and leave their properties behind. That was the last straw that broke the camel's back, and my grandfather decided it was time to flee. It was a sad feeling that they had to leave behind their houses, livestock, all material good, and land too. Though the leaders continued to guarantee the safety of the family, they also kept my grandfather under strict vigil to prevent him from leaving just in case. Grandfather formulated a plan of escape and initiated a covert conversation with other fellow Hindus. 8 families signed up for the plan. The group will flee to Lalmonirhat via Mymensingh. Lalmonirhat was the first transit point near border. They would rendezvous every other night at my grandfather's house to consider the details as well as to fine-tune the plan. The essential parts of the plan was to accumulate cash, travel light with minimum material possession, and behave nonchalantly. However, the group made one exception. They allowed my grandfather to carry his bicycle with him, the same Raleigh bicycle. It was a diversified group of doctor, lawyer, teacher, insurance salesman, businessman, and photographer. At last, a date was chosen for fleeing. It was a few days after New Moon in October 1952. This date was based on advance information that the government of India and Pakistan had mutually agreed to let an empty train go to Lalmonirhat station and bring back the stranded Hindus to India. In the final preparatory stage, it was decided that each family would reach Mymensingh railway station 20 kilometers away independently after nightfall. When my grandfather's turn came, it was about 5 p.m., but already dark. The whole family walked about 3 kilometers and found Mutlev Khan waiting on the outskirts of the town. He had brought 2 taxis to take the family to Mymensingh railway station. He was not surprised that my grandfather brought his bicycle along, knowing the sentimental value attached to it. Mutlev Khan was a great Muslim friend of my grandfather's. He had a physique of a Pathan, a big man always seen on horseback in the marketplace. He was the only person outside the group of 8 who knew the escape plan. The family reached Mymensingh railway station after an hour's drive, and Mutlev arranged for a quick refreshment. At about 9 p.m., the family boarded the Narayanganj express train. Seeing them all settled, Mutlev bade adieu to his dear friend. The journey to Lalmonir Hat consisted of 3 legs. The first leg, the Narayanganj express, would take them to Bahadurbad Ghat, crossing many medium-sized bridges along the way. Each time the train was on a bridge, the horror of Bhairav Bazaar was on everybody's minds. Around midnight, the train reached Bahadurabad. A sea of coolies in red kurtas and turbans awaited the passenger on the platform. My father hired one for his bicycle too. The next leg began with a ferry ride. It took an hour to reach Fulcheri Ghat. As the passengers started disembarking from the ferry, the situation became chaotic. There was a mad rush towards the empty train to occupy a good seat for the family. Walking on a sandy beach was difficult, and running a quarter or half a mile on sand was extremely challenging. Moreover, you had to run fast to keep pace with the fast-running coolie who may otherwise get lost in the crowd with valuables. My elder mama, being the teenager by then, took the lead, and the rest followed in a relatively leisurely way. When all the passengers had embarked, the train left the station around 3 a.m. Everybody was tired, and the rest of the third leg was eventful. The train reached Lalmonir Hat in the morning at 7 a.m. All the passengers of the group of 8 reunited at the platform. It was a joyous moment, being so close to freedom from nightmares of violences. They knew a special train was to come to Lalmonir Hat to take all the stranded Hindu passengers to India. What they were unaware was of the fact that they would have to wait for 8 to 10 hours for the train. Freedom was so near and yet seemed so far away. But first thing first. Everyone was famished. Food and water was arranged from the station itself. When everyone was satiated, my grandfather moved around to survey the platform for any unusualness. Grandfather, however, noticed an ominous presence of military everywhere and quickly estimated that 1/4 population of the platform were military personnel. He had a queasy feeling when one soldier approached him. The soldier, pointing at his bicycle, told that he would not be allowed to carry it on the train. When my grandfather asked why, the soldier did not respond, simply snatched the bicycle and disappeared into the thin air. My grandfather felt humiliated in presence of so many people and thought they might misinterpret as cowardice. My mama did not know what hurt him more, the loss of his prized possession or the loss of dignity. I presume it was both. My grandmother, however, tried to calm him down and said, "Please do not dwell on it. Let it go." She did not want him to lose focus and make mistakes. It is time to introduce an especially important person who was very generous and heroic. He was the husband of my grandmother's sister, Mr. Girindranath Biswas. He was an employee of the Indian Railway and was entrusted with the mission to bring back stranded Hindus from Lalmonir Hat. When the train finally arrived, it brought Mr. Girindranath Biswas along with it. Everyone hurried and settled in the train. Mr. Girindranath Biswas's reputation always preceded him, as he was known by everyone for his kindness and helpfulness. However, what did not precede was his lesser-known side of personality, his anger. He took an umbrage, and he was incredibly angry to learn about loss of grandfather's precious possession, the bicycle. When everyone seated and baggage loaded, it was time for the train to leave. At that moment, a military man with a bicycle was spotted again. As the train started, Mr. Biswas got down and made a stealthy attack on the military man. The soldier was flabbergasted, and before he could fathom what hit him, Mr. Biswas, like a marathoner, ran with all his might, clutching the bicycle, and caught the moving train. Passengers standing near the doorway pulled him up and ushered him into a compartment with bicycle. Wow, that was a win. A small win, maybe, but nevertheless a win against mighty military. It restored the family's honor. People inside the compartment were spellbound by the courage displayed by Mr. Biswas. As the train left the station and gained speed, a lull descended upon it. The silence was broken only by the huffing and puffing of the coal-fired steam engine. The train was headed towards the Dharla River Bridge, which separated the only two nations, India and Pakistan. When the train was midway, a fellow passenger with a sonorous voice chanted, "Vande Mataram." There was an echo, and the whole train erupted with thunderous sound. Vande Mataram. An emotional moment, filled with pure joy of being free from constant fear of lives. My grandmother later recalled that not a single person was in the train without tears in his eyes. India became my grandfather's adopted family. I would like to add a postscript to the story because there will be many questions emanating out of the story as to what happened later. After reaching India, my grandfather, Dr. Jyotinder Chandra Das, settled in Alipurduar in North Bengal. It was a sub-divisional town with a population of 20,000. He developed a successful private practice there, and there were 4 registered medical doctors in the town, and each had carved out their own niche areas. In later years, probably in 1959, my grandfather invited Mr. Motlev Khan to visit India. He came and stayed with the family for 2 weeks. Grandfather had the best time of his life then. The bicycle in question is something my mama and my older cousin, Pompa Didi, also confirmed seeing. However, none other than my mama remembered the background of the story. My mama would reminisce often with his older brother, Professor T.K. Das, about their childhood years and often talked about this bicycle. Unfortunately, Professor Das, my elder mama, he passed away in 2018. My grandfather, donning full pants, a shirt and a shola topi, would often be seen riding the bicycle every morning to go to his chamber. His evening attire at home was dhoti Punjabi, and he would often see his patients from their residential chamber. He retired from private practice in 1972. Macmillan High School was the same school where my mother also studied. She graduated from there. My grandfather passed away in 1975 in Tura at his elder son Professor T.K. Das's residence in Meghalaya. Grandmother jovially told everybody that any child who is 13 or younger is most probably delivered by my husband. So such was the story. And I found it very interesting, so I thought let me share. My father, Shri Devi Prasad Das, he came to India with his chachi and her children from Barisal, East Pakistan in 1947. She herself was a widow and she took my father under her care. He finished his schooling and did an MA from Presidency College, Kolkata. After that he came to Delhi and got a government job. And when he was of age, his elder sister, she offered to look for a bride for him. And that search of bride took them to Alipurduar in West Bengal, where my mother was selected and got married on 25th January 1964. after securing an MA in Political Science from Calcutta University. And in 1959, he arrived Delhi and secured a government job through the Allied Services and joined the Ministry of Education. It's now called HRD, as a section officer. He joined the Central Board of Secondary Education as a vice chairman for about 3 years on deputation. He retired as Joint Secretary in 1986.